Hello, everyone. You're listening to Every Night is Halloween, the ultimate horror podcast. And today we're going to do a quick overview, a long overdue review of the show Stranger Things. Now, for those of you who don't know, which I imagine most of you listening to this do, Stranger Things is a sci fi horror show on Netflix basically following a young girl who meets a new group of friends. The young girl is on the run from the government because she has special powers and is part of a secret or government organization who's trying to weaponize monsters from another dimension known as the Upside Down. Season 1 introduces the Demogorgons, which is basically just dogs with flower heads. Then in season 2 and 3, the more prominent monsters are introduced, such as the Mind Flayer. In season 4, we find out that Vecna is the demon behind everything that's led up until this point. And then in the final season, season 5, is the final showdown between the main cast and the main villains being Vecna and the Mind Flayer again. Now, seasons 1 through 4 were legendary, absolutely amazing. Season 5 was absolute dog shit. The Duffer Brothers released a documentary on the making of season 5, which I started to watch, but it was so unwatchable I had to turn it off. But I've seen plenty of clips online. The reason why the final season was so bad is because the Duffer Brothers admitted to having started filming the finale without having actually finished writing it. They hadn't even finished writing the ending, so they were quite literally filming the final episode of the final season and still have no idea how it's gonna end. And they also used ChatGPT to write many parts of the story, which explains why the story is so horrible. Seasons 1 through 4 were amazing. I mean, the Duffer Brothers are probably the most hated directors in all of Hollywood. They made what was once the greatest show in all of Netflix to now the worst show on Netflix. And they said they're going to be doing a couple spin-offs. Nancy Wheeler's getting her own spin-off, and they're making a cartoon spin-off called Tales from 85. I will not be watching those. After this abomination of a finale season, I will never watch anything by the Duffer Brothers ever again. To put things into perspective, season 4 came out in 2022. They had 3 fucking years to get their shit together and to make a good final season. And it wasn't just the final episode that was bad. The whole fucking season was horrible. So, today's episode is mainly going to be focused on Stranger Things 5. Of course, I'm going to be mentioning the other seasons throughout. But I'm really going to be focusing mostly on season 5 because that's where all the disappointment is. So, first up, let's talk about Eleven's death. So, in the finale, the gang beats Vecna, Joyce beheads Vecna, they kill the Mind Flayer again. See, this is one thing I don't get about the Mind Flayer. Everyone was like, oh, this is the Mind Flayer in its final form. I'm like, motherfucker. Okay, in season 2, the Mind Flayer first appears. We knew he was going to come back. In season 3, they kills the Mind Flayer with a combination of Elle's powers and fireworks in the Starcourt Mall. And in season 4, the Mind Flayer wasn't even mentioned. I was pretty fucking positive that the Mind Flayer was long gone. So to then have another Mind Flayer... See, every time they introduce, it's the exact same fucking character, but he's made out of different materials. The second season, he was made out of shadows. Then in the third season, they called him the Meat Flayer, because it's the same fucking thing, but instead of being made up of shadows, he's made up of rotten people and rats. And now in the finals season, he seems to be made out of some sort of wood, I guess. I mean, before he emerges from the ground, it quite literally looks like a normal tree just sticking out of the ground. So I don't know what he's made of, but I'm assuming he's made out of some sort of wood or like rock or something. It's the same fucking character, just made out of something different every fucking season. I'm sick of seeing the same. It's like they ran out of ideas. It's like, well, Vecna isn't big enough of a threat, so we need to have a bigger threat than Vecna, only for us to defeat him in less than 6 fucking minutes. And you know what? Stranger Things is based on the lore of Dungeons and Dragons. In the trailer, they showed us the Mind Flayer, which, because they're attacking the Mind Flayer with fire, I honestly thought that it was going to be a dragon, since the show is based on Dungeons and Dragons. Why was there no dragon in literally any episode of the entire show? Because I don't play D&D myself, but I am aware that there are dragons in it, hence it's called Dungeons and Dragons. But no, these Thunder Cunts decided to lie to us. I'll get into that a little bit later, but the Duffer Brothers quite literally lied to us countless times. And yeah, I feel like they just brought back the Mind Flayer just because they were uncreative and they needed a bigger threat than Vecna for the sake of the plot. And then it wasn't even a bigger threat, because let me get this straight. You're saying that something the size of 3 dragons was taken out with a machine gun, some fire, and Lucas's water balloons. Vecna was still the bigger threat, honestly. Let's face it. Vecna, the fight between Vecna and El was pretty entertaining. In seeing Joyce cut his head off with an axe while they were playing flashbacks of like the characters getting tortured throughout the seasons, that was very satisfying. Now, throughout this episode, thanks to Kali, her bitch of a sister. Now, I know everyone hated Kali at first when she first came in, and then they started to like her. I never liked the brown bitch. I never liked Kali one fucking bit. Kali convinces El that they're connected to the Upside Down, and to destroy the Upside Down completely, they need to kill themselves. Kali gets shot early in the episode, or it might have even been the previous episode. I don't know. Netflix has a way of making these shows in a way where it feels like one big movie and you forget what happened in what specific episode. But Kali dies way before they go into the abyss to fight Vecna. The Mind Flayer is dead. Vecna is dead. The Demogorgons and the Demodogs and the Demobats and all these other monsters are nowhere to be found at all. They're just vanished into thin air. So we're thinking, okay, the fight's over. Like, everyone's gonna go back into Hawkins and live happily ever after. On their way out, they set off a timer with the bomb so that when they exit the Upside Down will explode and forever be destroyed. Well, when the Hawkins crew exits, they are captured by the military, who's waiting for them on the other side. They all get detained. El somehow manages to escape. Here's the thing. El's the one that the government is after because they want to weaponize her. And for some reason, El somehow manages to escape with no one noticing. So she goes back into the Upside Down, and basically she's presumed dead because the Upside Down explodes with her in it. Now, as Elle is killing herself, I'm just looking at the TV screen and I'm like, why? Why is this necessary? Like, we killed Vecna, the Upside Down's being destroyed, the fight's over, oh, but we're connected. What about Will? Will has been connected to the Upside Down since the ending of season 1 / beginning of season 2. They made that very obvious. And in season 5, Will gets powers, supposedly, except we find out that what's actually happening is he's telekinetically connected to Vecna, And so he's using in reality, he's basically borrowing Vecna's powers as his own. But Will's been connected to the Upside Down for years. So why didn't he die when the Upside Down died? Here's another question for you. If we're all connected to the Upside Down, and Elle is connected to the Upside Down, shouldn't she die already when the Upside Down is exploding and not need to go out of her way to kill herself? She basically killed herself for no fucking reason. You want to talk about Eddie's death being useless? Listen, Eddie, I'm going to get to that in a minute. Eddie's death was not useless. Elle's death was fucking useless because they completed the mission, they killed the bad guy, and then she decided to kill herself for no fucking reason whatsoever. And then Mike came up with this whole bullshit theory that, oh, Elle is alive and she escaped to the 3 waterfalls locations that I made up in my imagination and then told her about. Now, while I do think Elle is still alive for 2 reasons. One, we didn't see a body. And we know that the Duffer Brothers are planning spin-offs, so they're probably gonna have a spin-off in a few years from now, basically saying that she's back. Number 2, they pull the same crap in Season 1. In the finale episode of Season 1, Elle literally disintegrates with a Demogorgon. She sacrifices herself to save her friends, and we literally watch her disintegrate into thin air. We are dead certain that she is dead, because we watched the body of a child disintegrate. And then in Season 2, she comes back. By the way, they never even fucking explained how she came back to life, or how she survived being disintegrated. But she's back in Season 2 with no explanation as to how she survived. And so for her to kill herself in Season 5, yeah, they're just pulling the same fucking bullshit all over again. However, did she survive the way that Mike said that she did? No, I don't think she did. I think that's Mike just coping with his grief. I think one of the stages of grief is denial, and I think Mike is in denial. I think he's so depressed that he's in denial, and he's making shit up and then believing his own lies to deal with his grief. And Mike's theory doesn't make sense, though. First of all, this is the thing with the Duffer Brothers and their plot holes. It doesn't make sense that, they had her kryptonite all around the military base, and somehow Elle manages to use her powers to talk to Mike before she supposedly dies. And that's how Mike comes up with the theory that maybe Kali created an illusion for Elle to escape. Here's the thing. Kali already died way before they even went into the abyss to fight Vecna. She literally was shot in the gut and bled out and died. They showed it all on screen. She was dead way before any of this. Even if by some miracle she manages to survive all that long, number 1, she would have been too weak from bleeding out to use her powers. Number 2, she would have died before then anyway, because the lab was the very first thing to explode before the rest of the Upside Down, and Kali's body was in the lab. So there's no possible way that Kali used her powers to create an illusion to save Eleven. That's a big fat lie. And I get that Elle's worried for her friend's safety and whatnot, but it makes absolutely no fucking sense that she wouldn't go. I mean, in Season 2, she went to Hopper. Keep in mind, too, throughout the show, Hopper and Joyce and the others, they want to keep Elle hidden for everyone's safety, and Elle is very much against that, especially in Season 2, but even in later seasons. In Season 3, keep in mind, she befriended Max, and they went to the mall, and Steve even said, aren't you not supposed to be here? Mike was upset because she's like, Elle's not supposed to leave the cabin. She's not supposed to be here because she's going to put us all in danger. Elle has been very much against hiding since day 1. So it makes absolutely no sense whatsoever that she would consciously make a decision on her own to go into hiding if she did survive the explosion. Now, Eddie's death. Eddie was one of my favorite characters in Stranger Things because he was a genuine human being. Yeah, I know he was a druggie, but the thing that I respect about Eddie is he didn't put on a mask to please everyone else. Something that a personality trait that I absolutely hate about people is when people are liars, when people are fake, when people are basically con artists when they try to sell you this idea that they're someone that they're not. Much like Jason and the Bullies, they're pretending to be something that they're not. At the end of the day, Jason was a fucking faggot. Eddie's death was very sad because he sacrificed himself for a town that was already preying upon his death. Everyone was very convinced that Eddie was a cultish serial killer with no evidence whatsoever. Even though Eddie kind of minded his own business, he kept to himself and didn't bother anybody, people disliked him for no fucking reason whatsoever. Now, in season 5, Steve and Dustin get into an argument because basically the whole season, Dustin's changed his personality entirely because he's carrying the grief of losing Eddie. Him and Steve get into an argument in the Upside Down where Steve basically says that Eddie's death was useless because he saved no one and he got himself killed by charging into a swarm of killer bats. And a lot of people online are saying that what Steve said was the brutal truth, and for that I strongly disagree. Have y'all not watched the finale of season 4? Eddie played Master of Puppets to distract the demo bats so that Steve, Nancy, and Robin could attempt to kill Vecna. The bats were only distracted temporarily. Eddie and Dustin escaped back into the real world, and Eddie realizes that the bats are gonna be headed back towards the rest of the crew while they're taking on Vecna. They're already taking on a risk by going after this demon dude with telekinetic powers and mind-controlling powers and the ability to... There's pretty much... Vecna could do basically whatever the fuck he wants to. So Eddie goes back into the Upside Down and sacrifices himself, which then bought Steve, Nancy, and Robin more time to take on Vecna and then get out of the Upside Down. Like, Steve can say all he wants to that, oh, Eddie's sacrifice was useless. It 100% was not useless. And Eddie is the reason why Steve is still alive. Because if it wasn't for Eddie's sacrifice, the Demobats would have, instead of killing Eddie, they would have killed Steve and the girls. Therefore, we wouldn't have had a Steve in season 5 because he would have been dead. So this whole ideology of, oh, Steve was telling the brutal truth. No, the fuck he wasn't. He was just being a bully. Don't get me wrong, Steve is one of my favorite characters in the show, but what he said about Eddie was completely wrong. It was dead wrong. But let's talk about that fight scene really quick. One of the things that's implied throughout the show, even up until season 4, they warn you, don't step on the vines because it's all a hive mind, right? All the monsters are connected. So if you step on a vine, you're basically alerting Vecna that you're in his territory. When Steve and Dustin fought, they definitely touched a few vines because these vines are everywhere. It would have been completely impossible for them to not run into a few vines during their brawl. Why were there no let me ask you this. Why was the Upside Down just another random neighborhood in this final season? There were no Demogorgons, no Demobats. Like, throughout the rest of the seasons, if you remember, when characters had to go into the Upside Down, they were noticeably very scared. Because there was a lot of danger. There were Demogorgons and other dangerous shit. And you used to have to wear a mask because it was a hazardous environment. And it was, I believe it was season 2, when Hopper goes to the Upside Down without a mask. And he passes out because he's breathing in all this, the toxic air. And then in season 5, they just treat the Upside Down like it's just a normal fucking day, like it's a normal fucking place. They basically treat the Upside Down as if they're driving to another city and not some demonic dimension. And then there's also the plot line of Max Mayfield. First of all, when Lucas is in the hospital with Max, the Demogorgons show up and they do their whole little Jurassic Park thing, and Lucas runs into the elevator. The Demogorgons charge right at them. We're certain that someone's gonna die. And then Lucas pulls this Superman kick out of nowhere and kicks the Demogorgon across the hall. Honestly, the scene was shot so poorly, I had to rewind the tape and rewatch it, because this is what I saw when I was first watching the episode. I see them run into the elevator, the Demogorgon's right behind them. I see the Demogorgon charging and jump, and then out of nowhere the Demogorgon flies back. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? So I had to rewind and rewatch the scene. And then when you have to pay very, very close attention, but then you notice, oh, Lucas kicked him. Suddenly Lucas has super strength. He's carrying a girl and a radio, and can also lift up his leg high enough to kick a fucking bloody ass 8-foot tall Demogorgon across the fucking hospital hallway. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The fact that nobody fucking died in this season, like, have you noticed that throughout the seasons, the cast just gets bigger and bigger and bigger because they don't kill anybody off? Like, in season 1, you've got the main four. You've got Will, Justin, Mike, Lucas, and then Elle, and they're pretty much the main party. And then the other main party is pretty much the adults. You've got Nancy and Jonathan, and then Steve's doing his own thing. And then you've got Hopper and Joyce. The only major death in season 1 was really Barb. And the reason why she was even a major death, because Barb, let's face it, she was only a prominent character in 1, maybe 2 episodes. She was basically the fridge protecting the snacks. You know, Nancy's in love with Steve. Nancy wants to hang out with Steve. And, no, you can't hang out with Steve because, I don't know. He's a douchebag. How the fuck was Steve ever? Let's get into that in a second. So Barb dies very early on. The only reason why she's a prominent character that we give a shit about is because Nancy's bringing her up every 10 minutes. Oh, Barb. Poor Barb. Barb is dead. Why did I abandon her to lose my virginity? My poor Barb. Shut the fuck up. No one liked Barb. She's a fat ass and she's whiny. No one gives a fucking shit about Barb. Season 2, we basically have all the characters, plus Max and Billy. And then we bring in Bob. Bob had such an unnecessary death too. Like, he's a prominent character throughout the season. He's dating Joyce. Jonathan doesn't like him for some fucking reason, but he really connects well with Will. Then, in his final moments, all he had to do was keep running. He didn't have to save anyone. He didn't have to hold anyone back. But no, he decides to stand 3 feet away from danger and stop and look at Joyce like they're in some romantic comedy. And then he gets mauled to death by the Demodogs. Like, you want to talk about Eddie's death being useless? Bob's fucking death was fucking useless. Literally stopped for no fucking reason. And then, I get that Hopper was trying to get Joyce out of here, but considering that in the very next season, Hopper was like, hey, I know you're still getting over the death of your boyfriend, Bob, but let's date. And here's the thing, like, the whole situation at that restaurant, whatever it's called, I don't remember Joyce actually agreeing to be there. I remember she said no at first. And then she said something basically implying that I'll be there, but she didn't say yes, I will for certain meet you there at 6:30. It was very obvious that Joyce wasn't interested in dating at the moment or even going out for dinner. She had other shit on her mind, so Hopper was honestly being pretty selfish. At this point, I'm convinced that Hopper let Bob die just so that he could have a choice with Joyce. And then Hopper allegedly dies at the end of season 3, but the only real death in season 3 is the death of Billy, who gets killed by the Mind Flayer. Season 4, Hopper's back. Eddie dies. This is the pattern that I've noticed. if there's a character that no one gives a shit about, or a character that's like a new character that's not part of the main cast, expect them to die. So Robin, so we got the main cast, then Max in season 2, then Robin in season 3. Oh, and also Murray joins somewhere between season 2 and 3. I think in season 4, the only person they really add is Eddie, who dies. And then by the time we roll around to season 5, in season 5 they add in the school teacher, and Vicky, who, by the way, I can't fucking stand Vicky. Every time they show all the characters on screen, it looks like one giant long-lost family reunion. It's way too many characters, way too many people to keep track of, way too many people talking. It's just a fucking mess. Now, the reason why Steve was never a douchebag, personally, Steve went from like being the most hated character in season 1 to after season 1, he became everyone's favorite character. Personally, I always liked Steve. I never thought Steve was in the wrong. I thought Jonathan was the one in the wrong. Because what did Steve really do? Okay, we introduce him as Nancy's boyfriend. He really likes Nancy. Nancy really likes him. His friends were douchebags, sure. And I guess you are who you hang out with. But the first thing that Steve really did is he broke Jonathan's camera. Now, why did he break Jonathan's camera? Because Jonathan was being a pervert and was taking pictures of Nancy naked, which was unknown to her, which not only is fucking creepy, but it's also fucking illegal. Like, you're lucky that Steve only broke your camera and didn't call the cops on your ass, which Jonathan went to jail anyway because he decided to beat up Steve. So for Steve to then get upset at Jonathan for taking pictures of his girlfriend and being a creep, yeah, and trying to provoke him into a fight, completely justified. Now, spray painting Nancy's a slut or whatever it was in the movie theater, that was not Steve that did it, that was his friends. And Steve did make up for it by going to the theater and cleaning it off himself, even though it was his friends who did it. Steve always made sure that he corrected his mistakes, even if it wasn't him that was totally in the wrong, even if he was just even if he had partly something to do with it, for example, the movie theater incident, it technically wasn't his fault, because he's not the one who spray painted it on there, right? But he never told them to stop, and he's associated with that friend group. So he's partly responsible, guilty by association. So he makes it right by going over there and cleaning it off. He gives Jonathan a new camera for free. I know that he had Nancy give it to him, but still, it's a thought that counts. When Nancy got mad at him at the party and said, "Oh, this is bullshit," he had Jonathan take her home because he knew that Nancy didn't want to be around him at the moment. And then later, after they got into an argument, mind you, Steve didn't do anything wrong. How would you feel if you take your girlfriend to a party and your girlfriend says that you're bullshit over and over again, and then acts like nothing happened the next day and can't even say I love you with a straight face? Like, oh, she was drunk though. Listen, buddy, alcohol has a way of revealing the truth. Everyone will tell you this. Like, if someone gets depressed when they're drunk or angry when they're drunk, they're just bringing out their suppressed emotions. They're just bringing out what they've been hiding while sober. So that's why it hurts when Nancy's saying it while she's drunk. So even though he's not in the wrong at all and Nancy's a fucking hoe, he still goes over to apologize to her and bring her flowers. Like, I genuinely can't think of one incident where Steve was the bad guy. I think Steve was a human who made mistakes, and when he did make mistakes, he immediately corrected them like a good human would. Normally, seasons 1 through 4, I would have rated them a 10 out of 10, especially season 3. Season 3 is my favorite season. But season 5 is a low 0-. It's so bad, I'm never going to watch anything with the Duffer Brothers again. I mean, the fact that we've got so many questions, is Elle really alive? Which obviously they left that up to our imagination, but what happened to Vicky in the finale? She just disappeared. Why were there no Demogorgons or Demobats in the Upside Down? How come the Demobats only showed up to kill Eddie and then completely vanish off the face of the earth like they never even existed? There's so many unanswered questions and so many bad plot lines. How are the Demogorgons immune to bullets but get more hurt with Karen, a drunken Karen with a glass bottle? How is it that the bullies who attacked Dustin, they caused more damage than the Mind Flayer in the entire finale? Having no one die was so unrealistic, which, by the way, I'd like to also point out something about Dustin. Everyone complaining that Dustin is at fault for getting attacked. Bro, this is America. If you want to wear a shirt to honor your dead friend, you're allowed to do that. So let's get this straight. Dustin was attacked for wearing a Hellfire shirt, and then he was attacked while visiting his best friend's grave. And his friends are still saying it's his fault. I'm sorry, but a lot of the characters in Season 5 turned into really shitty people. If I was in Dustin's shoes, if I had my friends telling me that a situation was my fault because of what I chose to do, even though I had free will, I would have unfriended their asses. Matter of fact, I kind of relate to Dustin in the sense because I have unfriended people and cut off family members because I was doing something like minding my own business, and someone else, instead of minding theirs, decided to have a problem with it, and we had issues. And people say, well, you asked for it by doing this, by doing that. I'm not going to get into the details of it, but I've been in a situation similar to Dustin where I was basically doing what I wanted to do and it had nothing to do with anyone else. And people had a problem with me for it and attacked me for it. And then people who are supposed to be my friends said it was my fault, as if I'm somehow in control of how other people act. And for that reason, I've cut ties with them. I don't have time for that bullshit. The Season 5 was so horrible. And anytime we have a question about anything, the Duffer Brothers go, oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I guess motherfucker, didn't you write the fucking show? No, ChatGPT wrote the show, and then they just put their names after it. They honestly should have put ChatGPT and whoever invented GPT in the fucking end credits to the show, honestly, because I'm convinced that it did most of the work. And they use this whole, oh, it's up to your imagination bullshit as an excuse for lazy writing. They're lazy writers. They're lazy fucking writers. And another thing that killed Stranger Things is Stranger Things being fucking woke for no fucking reason. Having Robin be gay in Season 3, that's fine. I understand that being gay people are in the real world and it's a part of real life. So it's fine to have a character that's gay. But Robin didn't make being gay her entire fucking personality. In Season 5, really, they forced it on us so fucking hard. Hey guys, I know the world is ending and Vecna is about to take over Hawkins, and surprisingly no one's noticed that, even though the whole earth literally split into 4 pieces and the whole ground was glowing red as if Satan himself had come to undo our blessings, and somehow no one questions that at all. No one questions why the fuck Hopper is still alive. No one questions why Hopper and Nancy aren't in prison after killing multiple military soldiers. No one questions Elle being alive. No one questions anything. No one questions how Max got her eyes gouged out by Vecna and all her limbs broken, and she can see fine, and she can walk fine, and she can see, and she's not stuck in a wheelchair for life. There's so many fucking, it feels like a 3-year-old wrote the script. Listen, Hollywood sucks in general, but the Duffer Brothers have really outdone themselves. They need to be blacklisted from all of Hollywood. They need to be blacklisted from ever making television ever again. They're lazy fucking children. They're lazy fucks. They are lazy fucks. So, No, I won't be watching the Nancy Wheeler spin-off show. I also don't like how they made Nancy originally this feminine, innocent girl to now she's masculine and has a sloppy haircut and guns and shit and I'm the man now and what the fuck? What is this woke ass shit? Like the world is ending and what's more important is the fact that Will is gay. Will is gay, everybody. That's what matters right now is Will being gay. Nothing else is important other than the fact that Will is gay. And then let's make that his whole personality for the rest of the fucking season. There's a reason why I like Robin and hate Will, because Robin doesn't make being gay her entire fucking personality. I didn't have a problem with gay shit before LGBTQ. Before LGBTQ, you can meet a gay guy who acted like a normal fucking human being, and you could introduce yourself and be like, hey, I'm straight, you're gay, that's okay. Let's go grab a drink, let's be friends. But now, you meet anyone who's gay, whether they're male or female or identify as one of 50 genders. Now they make being gay their entire fucking personality. Nothing else fucking matters to them. And if you're not gay yourself, you're homophobic, you're racist, you're a bad person. Oh, it's not that I'm against gay people. I personally, myself, I'm not gay. You know, I actually have a girlfriend at home. Oh, you're not gay yourself? You mean you're not attracted to men? No, that's fucking weird. No, if you want to go butt fuck men, that's on you. Me personally, I like girls. I have a girlfriend at home. No, you need to butt fuck men and suck their cocks. And if you're not, you're a piece of shit. Well, with that kind of attitude, I wonder why people are so homophobic. I wonder why the Democrats lost the election. I wonder why people are taking time out of their lives to completely destroy LGBTQ flags, which was originally LGBT, now it's LGBTQIA and all this other bullshit. And it's also unrealistic how this show takes place in the 80s, where it was not acceptable for a black man to be dating a white woman, yet no one cares that Lucas and Max are dating. And it also was not normal for women to be masculine, yet no one questions Nancy having all these guns. And it especially was not normal to be fucking gay, yet no one cares that Robin and Will are gay. It's fucking bullshit. It's all bullshit. So I'm not watching the Nancy Wheeler show. I don't need to see that masculine femininity shit. And I'm not watching Tales from 85. Fuck that. Fuck the Duffer Brothers. Fuck Stranger Things. 0 out of 10. Hey everyone, Adonis here. I got news for you. This is the final episode ever of Every Night is Halloween. I'm going to focus my time on my main podcast, which is the Adonis podcast, where we'll still occasionally talk about horror movies. So if you like this episode and want to see more episodes like this, hop on over to the Adonis podcast, where on both Spotify and YouTube, where I discuss a variety of different topics, but I primarily focus on modern day politics and problems of the modern day Gen Z society.